Hi everybody, Adam here. Welcome back to our Lego room. Lots of fun stuff to cover in this Lego room update video. A lot of great improvements around the layout, and we will be running trains around the track in this video, so keep an eye out for that in a little bit. First off though, I wanted to say the channel reached 4,000 subscribers this week. Really appreciate the support. Thank you guys very much. And this is our 50th Lego room update video. Super crazy to look back and see where the layout started from and sort of how it's evolved over time, but really impressed with where we've managed to get to at this point, and with some of the projects that we have upcoming here. It's going to be really impressive, I think, to see where the layout and the room as a whole goes over the next few months. So without any further ado, let's jump into taking a look around the layout now that it's fully reassembled. So as you guys can see, the layout is fully back together. The track is all in place, and all the buildings for the most part around the layout are in their proper location. Really, really impressed with how things are looking. And as part of the process of getting, everything reassembled back together, did a couple extra things along the way. As you guys might have seen in one of our recent videos, I connected the back end of the train yard to the main line. So that was a project that I'd been talking about for a little bit. Really excited with how that's come together. I'll show you guys, a close-up of that in a few minutes, and we will run some trains through the yard as well as around the main line in a little bit. Really happy with how the grain elevator's looking there. You can see we've got a bunch of our trees around that one corner in the layout there. I think that's looking really impressive. Also spent some time just really tidying up parts of the Lego room, in particular some of the surface areas around the layout, getting parts out of the way, just really trying to get things back to a point of, making the layout really usable and really easy to move stuff around in and add additional elements to. So really happy with how that has progressed. So you'll see more of that in a few minutes, but you can probably already see some of it from here, and makes a big difference. Really energizes me as I'm moving around, easier to work on stuff. So super happy with that as well. So let's do a bit of a tour around the layout. You can see some of the different buildings and elements and where they're located, and some of the trains. I've made an effort here to get most of the trains out around the layout. Not everything fits on the layout itself, but most of our train collection, with a few exceptions, are now out and around the layout. So we'll take a look at that as we go as well. So let's get started. So starting out on this end of the layout over here, this is probably still one of the emptiest parts of the layout, but lots of projects coming online soon over here. You'll notice the biggest or sort of newest addition to this part of the layout is the signal box bridge structure here. Continue to be really happy with how this structure has come together. Really interesting structure, I think, to have around the layout. I like the fact that it, goes over top of the mainline track there. Still a number of things that I want to do to sort of polish the building up. And, I would like to do some more work on this side of the structure over here. I'd like to improve the support system that goes down to the ground there. Maybe do something with some more of the masonry bricks there. And ideally would probably add something to connect that sort of balcony edge with the roof structure. But, overall, really happy with how that building has come together and the way it looks. So happy to have that over here. Now that this part of the layout has been cleaned off, we don't have any more loose parts over here. I'm going to get back into finishing off the Eiffel Tower there. And we've got a number of other interesting builds that will be starting to populate over here. So this end of the layout is going to probably make the most visual change over the next little bit, but happy with how it is progressing here. And, I think, at the moment that signal bridge structure is, a really great addition to this part of the layout. As we continue along the edge of the layout here, we head into the corner towards the rail yard. Really happy with how all of these trees have been working out here. I built a lot of these in preparation for our latest train show that we went to. They all survived really well. It was a great idea to have the skewer down the middle of those trees just to give it a little extra support when moving them to and from the show. Any trees that came apart were very slight sort of breakages, and it was really easy to get them back together. And I think that the trees look great here. It adds some interesting color to this part of the layout. I think the mix of green and yellow and then the few brown ones in there really works well. And looking forward to adding some more trees in general to the layout, probably a few more to this section here. But, it adds a nice bit of, realism. It breaks up the layout, kind of separates. You kind of can't see what's going on behind it. It really focuses you in on this section here that you're looking at. I think we should be able to get some really interesting pictures and videos with trains moving through here, even just like some of these shots right here or some of these angles with the Union Pacific and the trees and then the grain elevator in the background. Really nice. Would like to do some more work in here with adding some different types of vegetation, some animals, stuff like that to really continue to sort of flesh out the scene. But really happy with how these trees have come together, and I think they add a lot to the layout. And it's really nice to have something that is quite stable to transport to shows as well when we're displaying. Now we'll take a look at the grain elevator a bit more from the inside of the layout, but really happy with how the changes to the top of the grain elevator have worked out. The new roof structure was a great choice, made that top part of the grain elevator super stable when we were taking it to and from the train show. I think it also just looks really nice as well. Goes well with the red there. And it's nice now being able to remove that top part of the grain elevator. It's nice for just being able to even move it around in the Lego room here. But, when it breaks down into multiple components, it makes it a lot easier to get it to and from shows as well. So really happy with the changes there. I need to rehook up the pipes and that are on the front of the grain elevator, but more work ahead on that complex. Want to continue to modularize the grain elevator, so maybe one or two more sections there so that you can take more of it apart for transportation. But also, once it's broken down into all those components, I think it'll be a lot easier to revisit and maybe make some tweaks to the overall design and look of some of the components of the elevator. So really happy with that. And the next big project is going to be on updating the support building here. We're going to redo the roof for that structure. And with that, looking to add power into that whole area so we can have some exterior and interior lights for both the grain elevator and the support building. Looking to add some other farming related buildings and structures around there, as well as some vehicles and other sorts of props that you would expect to see in and around the elevator. That's, one of the big things you'll see as we're going around. I'm really happy with how the layout's coming together from a general sort of look and feel. But the next big thing here is to add a lot of life into the layout. As we add more buildings, going back around and looking for ways to add lights, ways to add vegetation, some different landscape, changing the elevation of some parts of the layout, adding animals and, wood and various, vehicles and materials around some of these structures that you would expect to find. So really excited about where we're heading. And in this particular area, I think it looks awesome. And these details that we add in are really going to kick it up a notch. Now, the next part of the layout here is the rail yard. Really cool to see a lot of our trains around the layout on sidings and some things on the main line ready to run. Really adds a lot, I think, to have some of these extra places to display trains and to have things queued up to potentially run around the layout. You'll notice in particular here, we've got this siding area that we're working on. So we've added the switches here so you can get to the two siding tracks. We're waiting on some additional parts that'll let us carry those sidings all the way down to the end of the layout there. So really nice long siding should be able to house, some trains of significant length in there. But even currently, nice to be able to have the two train cars and the locomotive in there. You'll notice we've also now got the rail yard track going all the way into the warehouse down here. Really happy to have the warehouse mostly assembled. Still some polished things that I want to fix up on it. Need to touch up a few parts on the roof there now that we have it back from the train show, but I think it's a really cool structure, a nice addition to this end of the rail yard, and nice to have that track there. You can see we've got some of our HA brick train cars in there. Lots of cars queued up in that part of the layout. Again, nice to have these sidings as a place to store trains that aren't on the main line and currently running. Gives us a nice way to see and appreciate some of the different train cars and locomotives that we have in our collection. Still needs a little bit of fix-up work, but we've got our water tower over there. Survived the trip to and from the train show for the most part, but just need to get the spout back on and situated properly there, but really happy with that. Then we've got our oil facility here. A little bit of work I'm going to be doing to update those tanks, the vertical tanks there, to try to finish those off. This is another little area. Happy with the general look of it, but really want to polish that off and add some additional elements around it to drive home the overall sort of function and point of those structures. So some different projects ahead for that, but another nice element to have here around the layout. And, I think as we're able to add some of those additional elements, it'll make it look cool here, but it can really shine when we take it out to train shows and we've got a little more space to space out some of these different structures and industries that we have around the layout here. Now, so you'll notice this end of the train yard existed previously. We didn't have the track all the way into the warehouse yet, but for the most part, this end of the rail yard area existed before, but now, in addition to being able to access the yard from this end over here, you can now go all the way down to the opposite end of the yard and enter or exit from over here as well. Really happy with how these new track mills modules have come together. Looking forward to running some trains in via this track here and doing a loop around, sort of a half loop of the layout. And, I think it's going to be a really nice feature of the layout to have, two ways to get into the rail yard on the layout here. So really happy with how this has come together. One thing you'll notice is that with some of the cleanup work that I did here, most of the track now has the nice brown railway ties from Trix Bricks. I've placed most of these 1x4s. I still have a bunch of the 1x1s that need to get placed around. But as a result of that, I've also gone and removed most of the black railway ties from the layout. So we're now consistently using the brown railway ties, which I think look awesome. Really happy with these. Gonna order some more from Trix Bricks to fill in some of the gaps you'll see at the other end of the train yard there. That's what reminded me of this. Still need to put all the railway ties down that new track there. The only spot, I believe, now on the layout that has the black railway ties is that corner module over there. You'll see when we get a bit closer to that end of the layout, it's about half to 3/4 of that corner module, still using the black. So when we get the new batch of brown railway ties in, we will finish off converting everything over, so we'll have just the consistent one type of railway ties throughout. But even just the change here to update most of the layout to this style, I think you will agree looks really nice. Quite happy with that consistency. Nice to get rid of the black ones that were still on there in a few modules. Just gives a nice sort of overall polish to the layout. So, really happy with where the rail yard is going and what we've managed to do here. We'll take a closer look at some of the trains over there in just a moment, but still some empty space on this side of the rail yard sort of layout. Hoping to come up with some different buildings and industries that we can add over there, and some different landscape elements as well. So should be fun to fill that in more, but really happy with the big step that we have taken to fill out the track on that end of the yard. Just another view of the yard and that area over there with the signal box bridge and the Eiffel Tower. Really nice, different sort of scenes and elements throughout as you progress down this side of the layout. Really happy with how everything's looking there. And before we go down the middle section of the layout and into kind of the back half over there, let's take a quick look down the city side of the layout. Haven't been doing as much work on this side of the layout over the last few months. I really want to make a big push to get some more roads in place over here, some more work on buildings, getting modulars put onto mills modules, continuing to push the lighting along in this half of the layout. Just so that we can, continue to really flesh out the city over here. I think there's a lot of cool elements that we already have. Been really happy with the progress we've made on lighting the city, but looking forward to spending some more time over here and continuing to work on this half of the layout. And, I think it's really nice. Been cleaning up some of the areas over here as well, which should make it easier for us to access and work on the city. So here, again, you can really see a lot of the elements on the other side there, the grain elevator, the trees. The Eiffel Tower is going to look awesome when it's finished over there. Will be a nice anchor element. And then as we look, sort of around these corners and down this side of the main line track here, this is one of the areas where there was a bunch of the black railway ties. So really happy to be eliminating that. You can still see a few cases here where there's the black 1x1s, but we'll get rid of those pretty quick here as we start to go around and place all the new 1x1s for the railway ties. And, again, here, a lot of great views through the city. Love the construction site with the crane here. Nice to have the Avengers Tower down there in the corner. But the city definitely needs some love, needs some elements over here that can be anchors for this side of the layout. We've got the lighthouse over there. That'll be getting built up soon. I really would like to, I'll show them in a minute because they're underneath the layout over there. I would really like to get the wind turbines back up and running on the layout. I'd like to revamp sort of the modules that they're attached to and come up with a nice way to integrate them. Not entirely sure where I want them located at the moment around the layout. Might be too busy to put it over there given the different elements that we're adding over there. So it might be nice to have something in the middle or over on the edge here. Maybe down at this end of the layout over here. I'm not sure. Be interested to hear what you guys think might be a great location for those wind turbines. But I think they will be a nice anchor element and sort of feature of the layout once we get them back up on the main part of the layout here as well. So taking a closer look at this corner here, you can see Avengers Tower looks really nice. As I've mentioned before, really want to build out this end of the city as kind of the Marvel area in the city. So we've got the Daily Bugle and we've got the, Doctor Strange's house, and that definitely want to get those things finished off and located over here. I think they'll go well with each other and make for an interesting portion of the city over here. As I mentioned, we've got the lighthouse that we want to probably locate over here. Still thinking this would be a good little water section of the layout. We can have the lighthouse, the fishing boat, see if there's any other water themed buildings or ships that would be nice to have over here and that would fit on this little side section of the layout. You can see as we look around the corner here, those are the black railway ties that I was mentioning. Not too many of them left there, but want to keep cleaning that up. Really nice having the, predominantly the brown railway ties now around the layout. And you can see as we sort of pan across here, again, the grain elevator and all the cool elements on that side. And you can continue to see here the city from a different angle. This is not really a part of the city. Like, I don't necessarily plan on viewing the layout from this angle a lot. So not too worried that you're really just getting a lot of relatively uninteresting backsides of buildings when you're standing over here. It's not, like I said, an area that I plan on sort of viewing the layout generally from. So I think it works out okay. But just gives you another view. Definitely a lot of unfinished projects over here that I want to make some headway on so that we can really start to fill in this part of the layout. Now from the interior of the layout here, really nice to be able to have so many of our trains now on the layout. You can see in general, we've got quite a number of train cars and locomotives. Lots of work to do still to, maximize how many of these are located on track of some sort within the layout or within the Lego room. Some plans that I have for that, but that will be kind of an ongoing thing over the next little while to continue to kind of build out the track infrastructure and work on some different projects here in the Lego room to really facilitate, just maximizing the number of trains that we can run at any given time around, different sets of track here. And then looking at the city from down in this area over here. Like I said, a lot of great progress over here, but it really has not been an area of sort of primary focus in my building and work over the last several months, really. So definitely time to get back into building a number of structures and, continuing to work on the road and the lighting systems over here. But really happy with a lot of the sort of framework that we have in the city. A lot of really cool elements, and as we start to sort of fit in more buildings and kind of extend the brick built roads, I think this is really going to take off in a hurry, which should be really nice. But super happy with where the layout is at currently. Like I said, in the last 6 months to 9 months, really made a number of cool and interesting changes around the layout as we've been building and filling in various track and structure elements. And now let's try running the Union Pacific around the layout here. Start off a little slower because I'm not 100% sure yet. This is going to be the first loop around the layout, so we'll see if there's any gotchas anywhere with the track or any of the switches or anything like that. Hopeful that everything will be good. It's on the outside track, so I don't think it should run into any major issues. Always good to be a little on the cautious side though, just to get things started and make sure that there's no issues, but looks like everything is really smooth and nice. Really happy with that. So we can try upping the speed a little bit. It's really moving now. Definitely want to create a number of little sort of picturesque sort of scenery points like this one with the trees here. A nice one to kind of see the train moving through and coming by. Really happy with how that works. And like I said, it's also a nice area to kind of break up different chunks of the layout. You can't necessarily see super well what's on the other side of it. Makes it feel like it's its own little contained area, which is nice. Nice to see the Union Pacific moving around the layout again. It's been a while since I've been running the trains as we've been moving things around and working on various projects. Always nice to get back to the point where the layout is fully functional again. Well, everything seems to be working super well with the Union Pacific. Maybe it's time now to try to get the Maersk train running for the first time on the layout on the inner track loop. That'll be a little more dicey as we'll hit some of the switches that we haven't run stuff through before. Shouldn't have any major issues, but in addition to seeing that train in action, will be good to test out that inner loop. Okay, so we've got the Maersk train running around the layout now, and because of the way the switches were aligned, we've got I was planning on showing you guys this, but not right away, but here we're gonna get it going into the interior part of the rail yard here, and then it comes down and exit back out onto the main line. So, you know, like I was saying, really happy with that functionality. It gives us the ability to kind of run an inner loop around the layout, which is really nice. I think that Union Pacific needs the battery charged a little bit. It's running a little on the slower side. But, you know, overall, super happy so far. Just the initial sort of loops here that the Maersk train is doing, running really smoothly. And definitely a big fan of that, you know, sort of inner loop functionality there. Nice to see that in action, and really illustrates the point I was making where it's nice to be able to have trains enter and exit the yard from both ends. You know, a nice bit of functionality there. Won't necessarily always be looking to have trains sort of traverse the yard in that particular way, but you know, nice. You could see having a train come in there and then stop inside the yard and have another train queued up to leave the yard and take its place out on the main line. So super happy with that. Nice views from this angle of the yard there. Continue to be really happy with that monster crossover there that we have in the train yard from Trix Bricks. A really cool piece of track tech and looking forward to really taking that out to more shows. It's not really going to ever get the workout here in the home layout that it could get, sort of in a maximum situation, just because don't really have enough space there to have a full set of track coming out from all four. As you can see, two of the tracks there just end with the crossover. We don't have room to extend those two out as well, which would really let you maximize and do some interesting things. I am considering getting another one of those crossovers and putting it into use on the lower layout that we're going to build. That's going to be really kind of focused on, another place to run trains and to sort of maximize how many trains we can display and run around the Lego room. So if we do sort of go on that, that is an area where we could potentially put one of these through its paces a little bit more. So really happy with how the layout is functioning and looking. Really cool to get the Maersk locomotive moving around the layout, and nice to see the Union Pacific moving around the layout again as well. Really happy with how the new track modules are working. Nice to see trains be able to come down through the yard and do that sort of half layout loop like I talked about. So lots of cool stuff happening on the layout. In terms of other projects, we'll kind of highlight some of this stuff a bit more in upcoming videos, but I've got a bunch of things planned over the next little while to revamp our display area on that wall over there. Want to fix a number of things up around there, get some of the elements off of the wall there. There's some sets that just need to be broken down. I'm not necessarily interested in keeping them as sort of permanent display items. So I want to try to make room for new things to come into that shelf and sort of polish it up a bit more. We've got a number of trains still in there that I would like to get fixed up and moved out onto the layout. So lots of work ahead over there. So keep an eye out for that. I've got some new shelving that I'm going to be putting in as well over there to support the display area. So some interesting things on the go. Also, still really interested in getting the upper train track loop idea off the ground and running. I've got some interesting ideas for how we can actually make that happen. So that'll be another thing that I'm looking at doing. Also, we'll be working on the under layout track. So I want to work on, we talked about previously getting the Winter Village set up on a lower display area over here. I'd like to have an even bigger rail yard area underneath this part of the layout where we can store more trains and run some trains, with the idea being that eventually we have a full loop going underneath the main tables. Obviously still most of the buildings and stuff would be up here, but just another place that we can store, display, and run trains, which I think will be really cool. So, a lot of different projects on the go. We've got some, bunch of Lego loose over there that we're going to be sorting and working on getting put away. Lots of sort of sorting, organizing, and various projects like that to tidy up the room, continue to make it easier to see and access all the different parts of our Lego collection, and get into the next stage, which is building a lot more train cars and locomotives, etc. Want to be able to better access our part collection so that we can utilize parts that we already have to build some of these trains and some of the city buildings, but also, freeing up space that we can have these new trains, in action in different ways around the room. So trying to maximize the sidings that we have up here and what we can run on the main layout, but also having that secondary storage underneath the layout where trains can still be seen and run, and then we can move trains up and down, have some trains that can be run up on that upper track area that we're talking about. So lots of cool things ahead. Definitely keep an eye out on the channel for those projects. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot more work in the city, getting a lot more buildings filled in there. We've got a number of lighting projects over here. And like I mentioned, really happy with how the trees started to come together. I've got the cherry blossoms are still packed up from the train show, but they're going to be coming out onto the layout. Definitely want to do a bunch of projects around some additional trees, some different sort of decor items and various sort of scenery elements and little sort of mini vignettes around the layout to sort of add to the flavor and all the different areas that you can see around the layout. Working with the grain elevator, making that area sort of the agriculture center, seeing buildings, vehicles, people and various things going on over there that all line up with that. Seeing some more stuff going on in the rail yard where, there's workers and various equipment for the servicing of the different train cars there and the loading of different train cars. So lots of projects ahead, lots of big ideas. So looking forward to diving in and executing and working on these projects. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so that you don't miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And thank you very much for joining us. It's exciting to be at 50 Lego room updates and looking forward to seeing where we are at, the 75th and the 100th update, because, as I mentioned, we've come a long way. It's hard to imagine, back to the time when we were just putting up the Acro Mills storage containers over there, just when the tables were starting to get put in. But we've come a long way, and I think we're going to be really picking up the pace with some of these projects here, and excited to see where things go in the coming weeks and months. So thank you guys very much for watching. In addition to all those things, expect to see a few more videos as we put the trains through their paces around the layout. I want to get some of the new ones that we've built here recently, the Orient Express, the Maersk. We've got our European electric locomotive that we want to put through its paces on the layout. Lots of stuff that I want to, I'll do some videos as we run them around the track, try them on different, interior versus exterior mainline, running through the different parts of the train yard there, just making sure everything's working well and seeing how all the different trains perform. So we'll do some videos with those or around that in the coming weeks as well. So thank you guys very much for watching, and we will see you again soon. Take care. Bye.